Hi guys, this is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. Today, I'm here with a recent reads. I'm going to aim for 5 books in 10 minutes. This is going to be hopefully followed up by 5 classic books reviews and another recent read. Let's jump into it. I haven't said this in a while, but if you guys are new here and you like my stuff, you could like and subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Turn on your notifications if you're interested. I'm really bad at self-promotion. I really hate it. That's how you guys find me. Okay, so I'm gonna do this Emma style. Emma the Bookish Princess, because she does this cool thing where she often will share a quote when she's going into a list video. She'll share a quote of the book before like telling you about the book. Let's do that. I'm gonna start off here with Laurus by Eugene Vodolazkin. This is a contemporary literary fiction translated from Russian, set in medieval Russia. Oh yeah, the quote. I just said I was gonna start with quotes. Next time I'll start with quotes. So here's the quote for you guys. He had 4 names at various times. A person's life is heterogeneous.
Heterogeneous? Heterogeneous? How do you say that word?
So this could be seen as an advantage. Life's parts sometimes have little in common, so little that it might appear various people lived them. When this happens, it's difficult not to feel surprised that all these people could carry the same name. That quote, that's literally the first couple of lines. I relate to that so much because you really are different people during your life, like as you grow and mature. So I loved that. This book, what a trip. I also, by the way, have more quotes from this on my Instagram. I'm like frequently on my Instagram. It's probably my most used social media, but it's also just for fun. So like if you want to chat with me over there, come hang out with me there. Anyways, got quotes there. This is the story with a doctor that with the power to heal that goes like far beyond what medieval remedies would offer him, like herbs. This is medieval Russia, by the way, and it doesn't stay there. This guy ends up causing a tragedy. He goes on a quest for redemption that takes him through different countries, different centuries. He goes all over. That's one of the baffling things about this book is it takes place in several countries and time zones. And this guy changes his name wherever he goes. And he has like totally different personalities. The one thing that kind of carries his character through is what he is trying to be redeemed from. And part of what I love about this is as he goes through, people don't recognize him or remember him, even though he does miracles everywhere he goes. Like that's one of the really cool things about this book is it really blends the miraculous and like the lens of faith, the lens that you have of life through faith, which is like a very mystical lens in a lot of ways, with the nitty gritty of life in the Middle Ages, which is very gritty, very, very gritty. Like I actually had a hard time with the grit of this story because it was so in your face, intense, and I couldn't handle it all the time. So it actually took me a long time to read this. I had to set it aside for a month because it was giving me anxiety. Like it's a really powerful book. It's like reading 377 pages of Flannery O'Connor. That's probably the best example that I can give you with a lot of differences, but like same kind of feel. It's not always super gritty. It's pretty intense, but also blended with the mystical in such a unique way. It's so unique. It feels modern. It feels ancient. It feels mystical. It feels gritty. Why don't more Christians and Catholics write this way? Also really unique and very gripping. I was going somewhere earlier and then I lost my train of thought, but that's more fun to watch, right? Okay, Dragonfly Falling.
Oh, I should have grabbed it. Where is my Dragonfly Falling?
Crap. It's probably like in a stack of books that I'm using for filming because it's very thick and handy in that way. Dragonfly Falling. It came for all of us. We are grown now. We've put childish things behind us. And look at the world we've grown into. So this is the second book in the Shadows of the Apt series, which is being put into a read-along by Alan from the Library of Alexandria. I have been reading along with them and really enjoying my time there. I think these are supposed to be more like military fantasy, which isn't my thing mostly, but I made an exception for the first book because number one, the world building is so unique and detailed and complex, and I love that in a book as long as it has good characters. And book 1 has amazing characters. I really love the characters in book 1. Like I really enjoyed book 1. I gave it like an 85% I think. So this one I gave a 76%. So it didn't have as much character work. It was a little bit scattered, a little bit. If you're a plot-driven reader, you might still really enjoy it. And I really still enjoyed it quite a bit. Alan's doing like live shows for every book, so it's really just very fun. And the world building is just getting bigger and better and more complex and interesting in that way. And the battles are as well. I really wanted to read along with the read along because it's just fun. I love the people that are doing this and I love reading with them. So that's mainly why I was reading along. Fortunately, I can't seem to get a hold of a good copy. My library finally came through with a copy, but it can only be read EPUB on Libby, and I don't like reading on screens. I like reading on my e-ink Kindle. Just a bummer, but book 2, very good. I enjoyed it. I don't want to get into the plot too much because spoilers. Oh, I forgot to get a quote for this next one. Well, I'm not going to look for it now. So this is Please Look After Mom. I'm going to put the book right here so you can read the author's name. I thought it was a thriller. I picked it up because it was on one of RM's reading lists. RM from BTS. He's like the leader. He's like a rapper. He reads a lot. This one sounded really good. He said like a fan recommended it to him. And apparently it's an international bestseller? What? How have I not heard of this? So I'm interested in Korea. I'm just very interested right now. So this is about a family whose mother goes missing, and it follows each of the characters and their reactions to her going missing and how they feel about it and how they feel about their mom. And it's very personal, extremely emotional, character driven, not plot driven, even though there's a good hook in there. Ultimately, the ending is much more of a literary ending. So if you're hanging in there for an explosive ending, that's not this kind of book. But all that to say, I really was so hooked. I was so invested. It was very good. I do recommend it if you're a character-driven reader. If you want to think about your mom, your relationship to your mom, if you want to learn a little bit more about South Korea, what different socioeconomic statuses look like. We see kind of the climb of this family from poverty, how the kids change as they leave home and go into the more mechanized, industrialized world, whereas the mom stays behind in poverty. Very intense. The narration is interesting because it's very unemotional. It's like straight talk. And it reminds me of this essay that I read in like a Writer's Digest or Writers and Poets magazine at one point, where the writer gives you a memoir essay about the death of his toddler. His toddler drowned in a pool, which is obviously a horrific event. The author of this essay narrates things in an extremely bleak, blunt, but also vividly visual way. He wasn't there, with his son, so it's not like that, but he like talks to the doctors and kind of goes through what the toddler must have experienced and, all this stuff. And he just narrates it so unemotionally that the emotion of the moment hits you even more because you're like living it with him. I feel like that's what this style is like in the book. It may be a translation thing, it might be an intentional thing, but I found it extremely stark. It worked, I thought, for me because a lot of the events were getting me emotional. The things being described, there's a lot of backstory with the mom being described, a lot of family stories, and I loved that. The ending, I was listening to this on audiobook, so the ending didn't have as much impact, I think, for me because it wasn't as, I guess, vivid and visual for me. It was more of a literary ending. At least that was what I got from listening to it. So anyways, but I really did enjoy this quite a bit. I believe I gave this like an 80 out of 100%, because there were moments where it stretched on a little bit long with certain themes, and I was like, come on, can we move on? Can we have a little bit of plot? But it was also very impactful, so there's that. Next, we have Fireborn, and I completely forgot to review my notes on this one, so this is going to be a bit off the cuff, but I do have a quote for you. I'm really bad at doing this Emma style. I'm just going to insert a little video of me reading this. He never doubted that he would create a just city, nor did he doubt that the families of the old regime deserved to die. But he did sometimes regret the way it happened, the day the palace was finally overrun. This is about the October Revolution in Russia, and it follows what happens post-revolution, and it's very good. This is young adult fantasy. Is it young adult? Yeah, Penguin Teen. Russian Revolution plus dragons. As you can imagine, the feudal lords would have used their dragons in really terrible ways. We see the revolution, And we see how dragons get used in terrible ways again after the revolution. So it's about power, the abuse of power, what it feels like to be in power, trying to pull together a country that's at war, that doesn't have the resources it needs for that war. It talks about hard decisions. The leader, for some reason, Alan defends the leader, and I don't know how. The quote is from the leader. He has complete belief that he will be just. He has some really hard decisions to make during the course of the book. Justice is difficult to define. It follows two kids who are affected very differently from the revolution. One is the son of a nobleman who was killed. The nobles were killed during the revolution. And the other is a child who was orphaned by the feudal lords who were overcome by the revolution. They have a relationship together because they grew up in an orphanage. It's just extremely well crafted structurally to have those two characters with those very different backgrounds. They also have very different personalities. They have very different trajectories throughout the book series. I'm fascinated to see where this goes in book 2. I was supposed to read book 2 this month, Flamefall. Haven't yet. But anyways, very good, very subtle. There's a ton of subtlety in the handling of the post-revolutionary period. And finally, okay, Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Amazing book. I actually have this one here. Yeah. This is historical fiction, literary, but it's almost like a blockbuster breakout kind of novel because it's literary, but it's also extremely gripping and readable. Oh yeah, quote, "Destiny isn't always like a party at the end of the evening. Sometimes it's nothing more than struggling through life from day to day." I love this quote because it kind of sets the tone of this book. It follows Chio, who we find out very quickly is actually Sayuri now. She is a very famous geisha in the Gion district. This is pre-World War II part of the book, and then part of the book is post-World War II. Obviously, things are very different during those two halves of the book. Chio is chasing her destiny, and she does it from the very beginning. She's chasing what she wants. The Voxer group that I had discussing this book was extremely divided on this book because of the ending. People really felt differently about it. We had a live stream. We argued about it, so check it out. That was really, really fun. So thank you to everybody who read this with me. This is a reread for me. I've read it probably like 4 times now. I read it a bunch when I was a teenager. I loved it so much. So the writing is really gorgeous. It's full of really simple metaphors that are not like so complex that you get lost in them, but also they're like just really good. It's almost like C.S. Lewis style metaphors. That level of quickness and lucidity is really beautiful. The characterization is amazing. Chelsea was one of the people that read this with us from Voyage of a Time Wanderer. I think I got that right. She said that the main character is one of the best like written female characters that she's read in a long time or ever. I don't remember which she said, but regardless, that's pretty impressive because this is not a girl. Arthur is a man. The characterization is really fabulous. I've heard that this is a glamorization of geisha life. That was like a criticism of it, but this was not glamorous. It was horrible. Like she lived through so much. You may have seen the movie too. This is even better, but I absolutely love the movie too. So anyways, this was the author's debut and I don't believe he's written anything else. So it's really incredible. It's just incredible. Okay, that was all 5. So stay tuned for a classics recent reads soon. Hopefully soon. We'll see what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely give it a like if you did. That really does help me out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave me a comment down below if you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.